Under structural analysis, we've been discussing three major elements. They are whole text analysis, paragraph analysis, and sentence analysis. So in previous three videos, we've discussed the analysis of the whole text structure. Today, let's move on to the other two analysis, paragraph structure analysis and sentence structure analysis. First, let's talk about the devices the authors employ in structuring paragraphs. We are talking about 8 components. They are paragraph length, juxtaposition, contrast, comparison, rhetorical questions, dialogues, quotes, and colloquial language. Paragraph length is utilized to engage with the reader. There are 3 different types used for effect. They are long paragraphs, short paragraphs, and single paragraphs. Long paragraphs are used to convey the message more vividly. Sometimes to give a detailed description of the subject they discuss, authors use long paragraphs. Moreover, in order to give more information, perhaps to stand out the most important section of the text, authors also use lengthy paragraphs. In Igcse for Hawk, Helen MacDonald uses a long paragraph to give a detailed description of the hawk she chooses in the pet store. Here, the physical appearance and its behavior is vividly described in a long paragraph to show her obsession with her dream hawk. She gives an in-depth analysis of every part of the bird that implies how obsessed she is with this specific hawk. The sound of its wings and feet, its fingers, feathers, and eyes, and also lot of similes and metaphors are used to describe its brightness and stunning physical appearance. So, the paragraph is structured comparatively lengthier than other paragraphs for effect. Short paragraphs are structured for many reasons. Short paragraph is a powerful, persuasive, and thought-provoking tool. Oftentimes, it is used to emphasize a point or to stand out a point out of the whole message conveyed in the text. It also creates white space to make the message more inviting and easier to understand. More importantly, it allows the reader to fill in the gap with his or her own mind. Now let's look at the ending part of the talk, the danger of a single story. Here, Chimamanda Adichie winds up her talk with a short paragraph by highlighting a standpoint. That is, when we reject the single story, when we realize that there is never a single story about any place, we regain a kind of paradise. So, this is the standpoint she wants to highlight by using a short paragraph. Single paragraph means one sentenced paragraph. Authors use single paragraphs in order to allow the reader to think more about the message conveyed. Most probably, this is used for emphasis, to give some food for thought. One example for a single paragraph is the opening paragraph in Passage to Africa by George Alagiah. Dialogues develop the characters of the story. The reader can understand the change of mood of the text. This gives first-hand experience of the characters, and it's a more effective device that makes the reader a direct witness of what is happening in the story. This makes the story more authentic. And also, it provides information about the relationship between the characters. It also increases the pace of the story and makes it more dynamic. They break up blocks of text and allow the writer to change the pace. And further, the tone of the dialogues provides information about them. Let's take an example from Chinese Cinderella, written by Adeline Yen Ma, to understand how powerful the dialogues are in changing the mood of the story. The dialogue between Adeline and her father changes the mood of the story because up until this point, her father is characterized as an inconsiderate, uncaring, highly manipulative, godlike person whose daughter is left out in the cold, marginalizing her among other siblings. However, this part of his dialogue drastically changes the reader's perspective of this father figure. Let's read the part. You will go to England with third brother this summer and you will go to medical school. After you graduate, you will specialize in obstetrics. Women will always be having babies. Women patients prefer women doctors. You will learn to deliver their babies. That's a foolproof profession for you. Don't you agree? This proves that he is such a futurist that he has planned her future to become a doctor, irrespective of her wish to read for literature to become an author. Moreover, the question rises at the end, don't you agree? Convinces us that he is not manipulative and leaves room for her suggestions as well. On the other hand, Adeline's part of the dialogue says how submissive she is and her perspective of father as a master manipulator and agree to what he is willing to offer as something is better than nothing. So now you can understand how much of character and the relationship between two characters are revealed in this dialogue, and also how it's more effective rather than a lengthy description. Another structural device used in paragraphs is rhetorical questions. That is specifically to emphasize the point or just to get the audience thinking. This is a very powerful persuasive tool by getting the reader fill in the gap with their own mind. This is a type of question asked but not for the answer, and it's used for effect. If we look at an example for rhetorical questions, Helen MacDonald asks some questions without expecting any answer in return. I started again saying stupider things. I'm sure the other falconer would like the larger bird. She's more beautiful than the first one, isn't she? I know this is out of order, but would it be all right, do you think? And on, a desperate, crazy barrage of incoherent appeals. So, here she's torn between two hawks. She's in a kind of dilemma as she's so obsessed with choosing her dream bird. So these rhetorical questions reveal her conflicted thoughts and tension and excitement. Now let's move on to juxtaposition that some authors use as a tool in order to compare, contrast, and consider the relationship between two elements more closely. This is a placement of two things side by side in order to reveal a contrast or a link between seemingly unrelated ideas. This explores the subtle distinction or quality of an idea that a reader might miss. Now let's see how Wilfred Owen uses juxtaposition in his poem Disabled, taking one stanza. It starts like this. There was an artist silly for his face, for it was younger than his youth last year. Here, the narrator celebrates the protagonist's jubilant youth in the past and then quickly juxtaposes with the contrasting present. Now he is old, his back will never brace. He's lost his color very far from here, poured it down shell holes till the veins ran dry. Even if he is still young, he looks old as his blood has drained till the veins ran dry. So the once handsome physique which was attracted by an artist to make a portrait of this young man now reduced to a shell hole. And in next two lines, and half his lifetime lapsed in the hot rays and leap of purple spurted from his thigh. In last two lines, Owen juxtaposes again with the recent past aftermath of the accident. Then he recollects how his physical appearance changed due to the blood draining out of his body. This is how Owen uses juxtaposition to invite the reader to contrast the three different periods of this young man's life. Let's take contrast next. Contrast is mostly used to strengthen the argument the writer is bringing forward by standing out his or her point. As contrast emphasizes the idea, it becomes more memorable and more understandable as well. In addition, it elucidates and clears the meaning of the idea. D.H. Lawrence uses contrast in his poem Piano while journeying down his memory lane as a woman is singing to him softly in the dusk. The woman is singing to the same piano which his mother used to play on Sunday evenings when he was a child. No matter how melodious the woman's singing is, it gives nothing to his ear rather than something burst into clamor. It only takes him down memory lane where he sits under the piano, pressing his mother's poised feet and seeing her smile as she sings. So here the two people are contrasted. This must be his fiancée, but he sees her as a mere woman, while he fondly remembers his mother's poised feet and smiley face as she sings. Then he contrasts the glamorous past with his mother with the clamorous burst of the singer who is entertaining him at the moment. And also the piano is contrasted as he sees it as a great black piano appassionato. When the woman is playing it, that means he sees it nothing more than a huge black instrument. However, he sees the same piano in the past when his mother played as a guide which taught him a lot of virtues through hymns. This is how contrast is used as a structural device by D.H. Lawrence in his poem Piano. Comparison is also a useful device. It compares two people, things, or ideas. This is used to link the author's feelings about a thing to something readers can understand. It also uses in order to highlight the characteristics of a person, place, or a thing with another. Sometimes superlatives are used to stand out the uniqueness of the character, place, or a thing. In Necklace, Guy de Maupassant highlights Mathilde's appearance by using superlative adjectives such as prettiest, elegant, graceful, radiant, and wonderfully happy. And then when she starts leaving the place, her embarrassment to wear a modest, everyday, commonplace coat is contrasted with a rich fur coat that symbolizes what she fantasizes to have in her dreamy, ecstatic moment. In King Shahryar and his brother, Shahrazad's character is highlighted by her sister Dinarzad, who had no particular gifts to distinguish her from other girls. Along with that, some superlatives are used to describe Shahrazad's character as clever and courageous in the highest degree. Quotes are used to prove an argument, just as a lawyer brings evidence before a jury. This, of course, enhances the power of the argument and makes the story more interesting. It also adds credibility to a persuasive text. In climate change, the quote taken from the world's best climate scientists drives the point home. Colloquialism is an effective literary device in creating authentic characters and dialogue as well as establishing elements of story's setting. Even though the language is unfamiliar with the reader, it incorporates in understanding its meaning through context. Aaron Ralston has used this device in his memoir Between a Rock and a Hard Place.